A few months after starting fencing, I was invited to what I thought was a super secret extra session. At that time, it was fencing was once a week for me, and now I had the opportunity to fence twice a week. And so I showed up, and what it actually turned out to be was the coach was giving personalized instruction, with the black mask and the black jacket or padding to some of the younger and more experienced fencers. And I was there. My purpose was basically to be the dummy. And that means that whatever they were trying, whatever he was showing them during the session, we would then do a couple bouts, and they would try it out on me. Um, and I didn't mind at all because I got extra fencing in, and now I'm at 2 nights a week instead of 1 night a week. And and after the session, the assistant coach came up to me. After the first session, the assistant coach came up to me, and he asked me what my goals were for taking saber fencing. Now, everybody in the class has different goals. Goals are as varied as the individual people. Fencing is an Olympic sport and a college sport. So somebody who's young is going to have very different goals from me. They may want to get into a college. They may want to compete at competitions and get higher. They may even want to go for an Olympic medal. Needless to say, one of my goals is not an Olympic medal. Hi, my name is Jeff, and welcome to The Weathered Blade, Episode 4, Goals. And I don't mean soccer goals. My answer to the assistant coach was I had 3 goals. One was to refine my technique, the other one was fitness, and the other one was actually to have fun. Good technique is about efficiency. It's not about finding the easiest way to do something. It's about finding the most efficient way to score a touch. It's conserving energy in a bout. I went to a competition in March. I wasn't in the competition, but I went to the competition. And it was really interesting to me watching one particular bout. It was the final match in épée. And the two opponents were, one was a tall guy who had very, very good technique. The other one was a shorter, very athletic, very, very fast épéiste. And I was curious to see who would win, whether it would be the athletic one who was very fast, very dynamic, very athletic is the best way to put it, against somebody who was a little bit slower but had better technique. And it was the taller, slower one who had the technique as opposed to the faster, more athletic one. It was a great match to watch, really instructive, and I wish I had recorded it. So in order to find technique, I divided it up into 2 different activities. Since I only fence twice a week, I wanted to do something when at home. Training by myself without an opponent, I needed to think about what exactly I could achieve doing that. One of the things was familiarity with the weapon. I mean, it's very important because the weapon is not an extension of your hand, it's an extension of your mind. And familiarity is not anything that can be faked. I can remember my coach picking up a saber and showing me something, and just the way that he held it, you could tell that he's been holding a saber for the majority of his life. It's very, very apparent to me, as opposed to myself or a beginner picking up a saber. Another thing that I can work on is my footwork and my speed in footwork, advancing and retreating, getting lunges correct, keeping an upright torso, which is something I struggle with because when I'm reaching out there to get that touch, I'm always leaning forward and can be off balance quite a bit. trying to stay within range and teaching my body what that range is, what's too close and what's too far away. Then there's rhythm, the advancing and retreating, and lunging and pulling back. All of that is something that I can work on at home, as well as point control and keeping my point going in the shortest possible distance instead of really big swings or slashes or cuts, coming in very, very tight, very, very controlled. And that's something I can work on at home too. Now, with an opponent, I have very, very different goals. So my goals at home are different and small, and my goals during class are different because I have an opponent, but they're also small. And a lot of times I'll think about my goals for class when I'm driving to class, or I'll make notes of it during the week. Some examples of things that I might concentrate on for class would be, maintaining distance and distance control. Distance and the separation between the two of you is the first defense. It's not parrying, it's distance and distance control. Or I may want to get that one perfect lunge on my opponent, or I want to get a stop cut, or I want to draw them in so that they lose right of way, and then I can go on the attack. All of these are little tiny goals that I would have for class. And my point is that for this activity, saber fencing, there are large sweeping overall goals, and then there are smaller goals that I can work towards to get the success of the larger goals. Does that make sense? And this method can be used across any activity or any domain. If you're starting pickleball or archery or just walking or yoga, you can apply these same principles, big goals, small goals, for success. And I need to talk about one other point, not necessarily goal related, and that is to take a small success home with you. For example, I might have one very clean parry riposte with one light, and I'll replay that in my head over and over again on the way home, trying to figure out what worked, what the scenario was, and why it worked. I remember there was one night, so I had I was fencing one of the teenagers, and I had a really, really clean parry 4 in riposte. And once the director called it, there were people standing around, and I pulled back and I said, I just want to take a moment to appreciate that. And the class started laughing. There was another time, again, against one of the teenagers, and I decided that I was going to go left on my lunge, extreme left on my lunge, because I had a feeling that he was going to come directly down the middle. And that's what I did, and I came over and I touched him on his chest, and he's just like, how did I miss? And that was one I took home with me too. It's easy to get caught up in negativity, like, oh, I should have done that, or why didn't I do that, or I'm so stupid, or how did they get ahead of me in that way. But it's the small victories that help, that drip of serotonin that help motivate you and keep you coming, night after night after night and trying things. I think it's important to celebrate successes, no matter how small. So my 3 goals that I talked to the assistant coach about were refining technique, fitness, and fun. And he definitely agreed with me on the whole fitness thing. I mean, we were comparing calories and how much we burn during a night at fencing. And he's in his late 20s, early 30s. It's nice that, well, first of all, I'm getting my heart rate up into zones that it rarely sees. It's at 4 and 5. And I'm not even noticing myself doing it. I certainly notice it at the end of the night because I'm absolutely drenched in sweat. And then I'm moving, and I'm staying in balance, working on my flexibility and my hand-eye control, just generally moving as much as possible. Here's a tip that if you do take fencing for fitness, try to get in as many bouts as you possibly can. I try in an hour and a half to get in at least 4, hopefully more, during a night. But the point is, I try to fence as much as possible, not stand around. And the last one is to have fun. And I realize that everyone's different and competition affects everybody differently. But at the end of every bout, I try to, or I definitely do, thank my opponent, and then I make a comment and I smile and I say, you know what, that was fun. And it truly is fun for me. I'm learning something. I'm jumping around. And even when I lose about, 5-0, all single lights, and which means that I didn't even come close to touching my opponent, it's still fun. Given that, I think it's also important for my opponent to have fun. Now, it's not my responsibility for them to have fun, and people take competition in very different ways. Some people take it really seriously. But I can at least acknowledge a good touch or a good move that they've put on me and give them a salute. There was one time that one of the youngsters, I had them backed up all the way to the boundary line on the piste, and she drew me short, which means that my attack fell short. And as I was fully extended, she just reached over and bopped me on the head. And I spontaneously burst out laughing and complimented her and said, wow, that was really good. Another time I was fencing, and again, I had somebody backed up to the boundary line, and she had an incredible parry riposte on me. She was on the defense and I was on offense, and yet she was able to parry my attack and riposte on me. And I stopped and I said, wow, that was a really good move. And she said, was it? My eyes were closed. I mean, it's laughter and it's respect and it's having fun. So, to sum up, set large, overarching goals and find smaller and smaller goals to work towards those large, overarching goals. And always celebrate your successes, no matter how small they are. Thanks. Thanks for watching The Weathered Blade, episode 4, Goals.